Welcome back to another My Mind MashUps deep dive, where we unravel mysteries, spark curiosity, and make sense of complex ideas together. We're going to start today with a feeling. I think it's a feeling that's become incredibly common. It's that sense of mental exhaustion. Even when you haven't done anything physically demanding, it's when a really simple task like, booking a dentist appointment or just deciding what to make for dinner suddenly feels heavy. Or maybe you've had that moment where a single notification, just one little ping, sends this wave of overwhelm or even anger through you. If you feel that way, you are not failing. You are having a completely measurable scientific response to a world that has changed. So today we're diving deep into reality fatigue. This is the neurological reason why life just feels maxed out all the time. Our mission, as always, is to spark some curiosity and challenge that idea that it's all about willpower. And if you enjoy content that makes you think, well, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let's just get right into it, because the first reaction most people have to this feeling is, what's wrong with me?
Exactly. And the first thing we have to do is validate that feeling. It's not just you. This isn't subjective. The data shows a massive objective rise in the cognitive load we're all under just to get through a normal day.
So where do we even start with measuring that? Is it about the amount of information we see?
That's the perfect place to start, the information explosion. So let's look back to 2008. Back then, studies showed Americans were consuming something like 34 gigabytes of information a day.
34 gigs. And that was before smartphones were, completely fused to our hands.
Precisely. That was pre-saturation. The number of individual content pieces we have to filter now has just exploded.
So it's not just like watching a movie. It's the little things.
It's all the little things, the constant alerts, the notifications. People get dozens, even hundreds a day. One report I saw suggests the average user now encounters over 5,000 pieces of content daily.
5,000. What even counts as a piece of content? A headline? A meme?
A headline, a comment you scroll past, an image, a 30-second video.
Yeah.
And that's a 3.5 times increase from just over a decade ago. It's a fire hose.
So wait, if we're seeing 5,000 things, shouldn't our brains be getting better at filtering? Like, aren't we evolving to handle it?
That's the critical question. And yes, we are adapting to filter, but it comes at a huge cognitive cost. That filtering is what's directly causing the verifiable decline in our sustained attention.
Okay, so what are the numbers on that?
In 2004, the average attention span on a single screen was about 2.5 minutes.
Which honestly sounds like a luxury now.
Right. Today, research points to it being around 47 seconds.
47 seconds. That's a 96% reduction. That is a staggering drop.
It is. Our brains are adapting for speed and filtering shallow data, but we're losing the capacity for deep, complex thought.
Okay, so it's not just the information we see. The outline mentioned a second layer to this: decision density.
The decision density crisis, this might be the real killer. It's the sheer weight of all the micro decisions. They all draw from the exact same, very limited pool of mental energy. The numbers are just wild. The average adult makes around 35,000 decisions a day.
35,000. That has to include the tiny ones, right? Like, do I hit snooze? Do I look left or right?
Exactly. And just zoom in on one area, like food. Studies show we make over 200 separate decisions just about food every single day.
200. Wow. From breakfast cereal to, I guess, whether that coffee is worth $5.
Every single one is a tiny withdrawal from your mental bank account.
So the external world is objectively heavier. Let's get into the neuroscience of what that's doing to our internal machinery. Because this is the part where you realize, okay, it's not a character flaw.
It is absolutely not a character flaw. It is a predictable biological response. Your brain is an amazing machine, but it has very real, very physical limits.
So tell me about those limits. What about, say, working memory?
Working memory is your brain's RAM. It's the mental scratch pad you use for whatever you're doing right now.
Yeah.
And it is tiny. Research consistently shows it's restricted to maybe 3 to 5 items maximum for anything.
3 to 5 things. So when you have your to-do list, your emails, your family worries, all of that is competing for those 5 slots.
All at once. And when the demand exceeds that tiny limit, your ability to learn, to solve problems, even to just control your emotions, it degrades immediately.
It feels like the whole system just freezes up. Is there a physical reason for that slowdown?
Yes. And this is so crucial. Just like your muscles produce lactic acid and get tired, your brain has a similar process. Intense mental work can lead to a buildup of a chemical called glutamate in the prefrontal cortex.
The prefrontal cortex, that's the CEO of the brain, right? He handles the complex stuff.
That's the one. It handles decision-making, emotional regulation, all the hard stuff. Now, glutamate is essential. It helps neurons fire, But when you're thinking hard for too long, too much of it builds up. It actually becomes a bit toxic, and the brain is forced to initiate a protective slowdown.
So it's the brain literally putting the brakes on to protect itself from burning out.
It's a safety mechanism. Your impaired focus and, your bad decisions at the end of a long day, that's just a direct consequence of your brain running out of gas.
That makes so much sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if our brain is constantly hitting that wall, what are the modern activities that are just draining the tank so fast?
We can break it down into what we call the 3 engines of reality fatigue. The first one is constant input, the misfiring alert system.
That's the evolutionary mismatch thing, right? Our brains weren't built for this.
Not even close. Our brains evolved for intermittent novelty. A snapping twig in the forest was a huge deal. It meant either food or danger.
And it deserved a massive spike of attention.
A massive spike. But now, your phone treats a like on Instagram with that same neurological urgency.
It hijacks that survival mechanism.
Perfectly put. It hijacks it. Every ping, every notification triggers that same reward pathway. A little microdose of dopamine. That's why they are so hard to ignore. You're literally fighting your own biology.
Okay, so engine number 2 is the one that I think costs us the most time. Interruptions and context switching. We all think we're great multitaskers.
And we're all terrible at it. It's the biggest myth in productivity. What we call multitasking is just rapid task switching, and the mental cost is enormous. Research shows the average worker switches tasks about every 3 minutes.
Every 3 minutes, that's basically constant.
It is, and here's the real cost. After a significant interruption, it takes over 23 minutes to fully regain deep focus on what you were originally doing.
23 minutes. So if I stop my project to check a 30-second email,
You've just paid a 23-minute tax to get your brain back on track. It's because of something called attention residue. Part of your brain is still thinking about the email.
wow. So that overhead, it can cost up to 40% of our productive time.
Up to 40%. This explains why you can feel so busy and so exhausted at the end of the day, but also feel like you got nothing done.
That is a huge insight. Let's hit the third engine, which brings us back to decision density. How does the flood of choices wear us down?
Well, it's the administrative load of modern life. We're not just deciding what to wear, we're deciding where to buy it, how to pay for it, which shipping to choose.
Which coupon code to use?
Exactly. Every one of those little choices chips away at that finite cognitive pool. And that leads directly to decision fatigue.
And when we're fatigued, our decisions get worse.
They get lazier. You see it in those famous studies on judges. Later in the day, when they were mentally drained, they were far more likely to just default to the easy status quo answer. They didn't have the mental energy for complex deliberation.
We are constantly making ourselves mentally lazy for the big choices because of all the tiny ones. If this is resonating with you, now is a great time to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next deep dive. So this all brings us to the chronic costs. These 3 engines are running day in, day out. The cumulative effect is this low-level hum of tension. Researchers call it ambient stress.
Right. Acute stress is a big spike. You have a deadline, you meet it, your nervous system recovers, you enter that calming parasympathetic state. But ambient stress never resolves. It's the 100 unread emails, the constant connectivity. Your nervous system never gets the all-clear signal.
So our bodies never get to fully relax and recover. What does that do long-term?
It creates something called allostatic load. It's the cumulative wear and tear on your body from being in that sustained low-level stress response. Your cortisol is always a little high, your blood pressure is up. You're basically jogging a marathon 24/7.
And that's why you can feel exhausted even after a weekend of doing nothing.
Because your brain is still working overtime just to manage and ignore all the inputs. We even have proof of this with our phones. The mere presence of your smartphone, even if it's off, face down on the table, it measurably reduces your available cognitive capacity.
Because part of your brain is actively working to not check it.
It's running a background program to suppress that urge. That is a constant drain on your battery.
Which leads us to burnout. But the definition of burnout seems to be expanding beyond just our jobs.
That's a critical point. The WHO, the World Health Organization, defines burnout very strictly as an occupational phenomenon. Exhaustion, cynicism, reduced efficacy at work. But researchers are now seeing the exact same patterns of depletion in other parts of life.
So things like parental burnout.
Parental burnout is now a huge field of study. One survey showed 57% of parents report feeling that same exhaustion and detachment. You see it in academics and caregivers.
So reality fatigue is the immediate overload, and burnout is what happens when that fatigue becomes chronic across your whole life.
That's the perfect way to frame it.
So let's talk about what this looks like in practice. For me, it looks like irritability. Why do small things feel like the end of the world when we're this depleted?
It's a pure mechanical consequence. When you're under chronic overload, your prefrontal cortex, your brain's emotional braking system, is compromised.
It's just too tired to do its job.
It's too tired, and at the same time, the amygdala, your brain's fear and emotion center, becomes much more active. It's not being managed.
So the accelerator is floored, and the brakes aren't working.
Exactly. The result is what they call a narrowed threshold of tolerance. The mental resources you need to just pause and rationally respond to, say, spilled milk, they just aren't there. That feeling of disproportionate overwhelm is predictable. It's not a failure of character.
Okay, so the final takeaway here has to be about empowerment. Understanding this isn't about willpower, it's about biology. The problem isn't you, it's the load exceeding your system's capacity.
And that means the solutions aren't about trying harder. They're about system design. It's about recognizing those hard limits, the 3-5 items, the 47-second window, the 23-minute task, and building an environment that respects them.
Actively reducing the inputs and the decision points.
That's the only way. Aggressively protecting blocks of focus and periods of true quiet. You have to give your nervous system a chance to actually reset.
Every deep dive is about sparking curiosity, challenging assumptions, and expanding understanding. We really hope this has given you a new way to think about why things feel so heavy, and maybe some permission to, protect your own capacity. Like, comment, and subscribe to hear more My Mind MashUps deep dives. You can find My Mind MashUps everywhere you listen. That's Amazon Music, Audible, Facebook, Pocket Casts, Spotify, TikTok, and YouTube. And please, drop your thoughts in the comments. Your perspective could absolutely shape our next deep dive. We'll leave you with one final thought to mull over. There's a brain state called the default mode network. It's what your brain enters during true, quiet rest, and it's essential for memory, creativity, and self-reflection. If our always-on world prevents you from ever truly entering that state, what might be the long-term cost of never allowing your nervous system to fully complete that stress cycle and return to zero? Think about that, and we'll see you next time.